Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy So, and welcome back to the channel. Today on Fight Rewind, we're going to review the Gervonta Davis versus Hector Luis Garcia match. And joining me is my homeboy, boxing expert, aficionado of the fight game. I don't know how many other ways to say it, but boxing expert, Victor Bermudez. What's going on, brother?
Appreciate you for having me, man. I appreciate the kind words. I don't know about expert, but I put a lot of hours into it and try to stay on top of it and produce a couple things related to the fight game. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man, and that's what experts do, Vic. They do the hard work and they get the information and the knowledge correctly. You know what I mean? And that's something that you got. Let's talk about this matchup that was pretty interesting between Gervonta Davis and Hector Luis Garcia. For those who don't know, Hector Luis Garcia was a guy coming up in the professional league. He's had 10 professional fights before this fight with Gervonta Davis, and in his last two fights, he was able to stop an upcoming fighter and win the belt in his last fight, which got him the shot against Gervonta Davis.
Now, time out. Let's do it again. I think he's 16-0, bro. You said 10 professional fights. Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't want you to. Yeah, 16-0. Had a crazy 2022. But you said 10-0. I just don't want you to.
No, you're good. You're good. That's why we have you here, man. But he does have a tremendous amateur background, right? Over 350 fights in the amateur, including some boxing in the Olympics where he was representing the Dominican Republic. But he's going up against a real tank in Gervonta "Tank" Davis. That fight, a lot of people didn't think that Hector deserved that shot. They probably wanted to see Tank Davis fight Ryan Garcia straight up. What did you think about the fight, and what did you think about him taking a tune-up fight before facing Ryan?
I like the fact that Gervonta is willing to stay active. I think Ryan Garcia should take a page out of Gervonta Davis's book. You know, he's had his whole out of the ring issues with the anxiety and what he deals with. You know, you got to respect it. You got to understand it, to say the least. But I like what Gervonta Davis was doing. Ryan Garcia had the same opportunity to take a tune-up fight prior to the April fight. He decides to just focus on Gervonta Davis. So be it. Ryan Garcia's, makes some decisions on his own that leaves us scratching our heads at times. But I like Gervonta Davis staying active. It's best for Gervonta to stay active. We've seen what goes on outside of the ring when he's inactive. The soap opera and the out of the ring things seem to get the best out of Gervonta. So it's best that he stays active leading up to that supposedly April 15th fight against Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, because nothing has been signed yet, but these guys are doing a lot of talking. Let's focus on this fight for a second. What were you expecting to see from Gervonta this fight? Because I wanted to see him become a little bit more sharper, a little bit more patient with his fight game. Did you see that last night?
Look, Gervonta, to me, is a very patient fighter. We've seen that in his last two outings. What I wanted to see from Gervonta was a quicker start. We didn't see that. That's not that Ryan Garcia starts fast, but Ryan Garcia has scored a lot of knockouts within the first two rounds. I think. Correct. I think that matchup in April is going to be more of I personally think it's going to be pretty boring for the first few rounds because Gervonta seems to start off slow and Ryan Garcia is a distance fighter. He's going to try to work that jab and keep his distance away from Gervonta. It's his best shot. It's the best tool he has, that jab and being able to keep a distance from Gervonta. He does not want to stand in the middle of a ring and start trading with Gervonta. I'm a big fan of Ryan Garcia. I've been following him since the kid was 15 years old, took multiple trips to LA, especially when he Reynoso and Canelo's camp, San Diego. We spent a lot of time together, even prior to that, with his whole signing with Golden Boy. So I'm a big fan of Ryan Garcia. Became friendly with the man for a couple years since he left Eddie Reynoso and Canelo. That relationship, it's, we're still cordial. We still see each other and say hello, but it's not as close as it used to be. So I was a big Ryan Garcia fan. I thought Ryan Garcia was a future. I thought he'd be the closest thing to Oscar De La Hoya as far as fandom goes. But Gervonta Davis is on a whole nother level. Gervonta's biggest obstacle is the scale. And can he make weight? We've seen that in the past. He struggled with that some. But Gervonta Davis is by far right now top. He's in the pound for pound list. And
for sure,
if you want to put him at this point, if you want to put him top 3, top 4, I don't have an issue with that because he's just so good. He possesses power. He knows how to go the distance. He can control the ring. A slow starter, but so's Terrence Bud Crawford. I think Gervonta Davis right now, if that fight is to happen in April, you got to give Gervonta Davis the advantage.
Absolutely. And I think that even him being a shorter fighter for that weight class and the light weight division, he does a good job of carrying his weight, carrying his power. He's not afraid to walk in front of guys. He's not afraid to stand and maybe trade when those exchanges come about. I think that's going to be what his biggest tool is moving forward in his fighting career, because something that you pointed out, you saw Ryan Garcia kind of as a young man and grow into the sport. With Tank, like we've seen him as a young man growing into the sport as well, but I felt like he's dealt with a lot more things than Ryan has. So in him overcoming all those obstacles, I feel like he's probably in a better shape, and especially after his tune-up fight, in a much better mentality of being ready to get that fight against Ryan Garcia.
Like you hit on something there, and mentality-wise, the mindset that you have to give that to Gervonta Davis. Just no, it's not a knock on Ryan and what he struggles with, what he deals with, but you said it. Gervonta Davis can have all the distractions in the world and step in the ring and be clear-headed. Ryan Garcia, has to cancel fights or to get his head straight. The resumes you can't compare. The resume that Gervonta Davis brings to the table is by far the best and most accomplished resume, probably at 135. Maybe Teofimo Lopez can challenge that because of what he's done at 135 and what he did with Lomachenko. But at 135, Gervonta Davis is a problem. Gervonta Davis is the truth and has the best resume, has the best mindset to me. He's been tested in the ring, outside of the ring, possesses the best uppercut probably in all of boxing. And I think he will give Ryan Garcia a lot of trouble if he's able to cut off that ring and try to fight on the inside. Ryan Garcia can keep – sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, do you think that Tank Davis is the best fighter in that division?
Absolutely, by far. Oof. By far. I think in the last 2 years alone, he's separated himself, and I think nobody wants a problem with Gervonta Davis. You step in the ring with Gervonta Davis, at this point, it's turning into a money grab, because he puts people in butts in the seats, as you would say. He fills out whatever arena you put him in, whether it's in Atlanta, in DC, whether you put him in Vegas, he can fill up any arena. Ryan Garcia does well too. That's why it's such a lucrative fight. That's why it has to happen for boxing. To me, it's the most exciting fight outside of Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. That is, but as far as entertainment wise, I think Gervonta and Ryan Garcia are the more entertaining fight, because these two guys, Bud Crawford and Spence, are going to fill each other out. I think that would, out of the four fighters, the two fights, if you tell me which was the more exciting one, I think by far it's going to be the Mexican Mexican descent of Ryan Garcia against Gervonta Davis. You add the Mayweather element to the De La Hoya Golden Boy. It's must-watch TV. Not that
it's made for TV.
Yeah. Not that Spence and Bud Crawford won't deliver, but Bud Crawford has a hard time selling out in his hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. So they're not as and Spence doesn't do quite well in Dallas either. So if you don't do well in your hometowns, it's the fight between Spence Crawford and Spence and Crawford. It's a boxing fan's dream.
True.
The fight between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis. It's that is momentum. That's entertainment. That's what everyone wants to watch. You'll have females in the stand. You'll have non-boxing fan will be watching this fight because of everything that goes along with it.
For sure. And I think that has something to do with what you said with Tank Davis's resume. He's never been shy to fight whoever they claim is the best or whoever's the number one contender. He's not ducking anybody. If anything, he's always been open to any challenger. And in my conversation that I had yesterday with Kevin Gleason, he mentioned that how the fight game is trending towards guys avoiding each other. What is it that you think can bring boxing back, right, to where these guys want to face each other often and forget about the records and just say, you know what, I'm coming for the glory and I'm coming for the money? Because that's where it's at.
That's a loaded question, and unfortunately, I just don't see there being a solution to it. You have won too many titles, so everybody's a champion. There's no reason to fight each other, because I can go fight this interim, or I can go fight this, guy who's ranked in the top. Like, let's be honest. Hector Garcia should not have been in the ring, in my opinion. He had a great 2022, showed out, but in my opinion, he shouldn't have been in the ring with Gervonta Davis. the resumes and the skill set was just totally different, and he was outmatched, outclassed. But it is what it is. That's what boxing is at the point that it is right now. You have too many belts and one too many promoters. That's the other thing. They're not willing to fight each other because, hey, I can secure it. Boxing is, we're far removed from the days of, hey, I just want to fight you because I want to prove that I'm the best. They say all the right things. Gervonta says all the right things. Ryan Garcia says all the right things. But yet you have Oscar De La Hoya who's making it impossible, nearly impossible. And then you have, on their side, Mayweather promotion, they're making it impossible. Okay, then if we do agree to terms, where do we put this fight? Because one fight's on Showtime, the other one fights on DAZN. So it's just it's networks, it's promoters, it's titles, and it's just it's a bad business for boxing, and it's a black eye on boxing, no pun intended. But it's frustrating for the fight fan. I just don't see it being fixed anytime soon.
Yeah, man, I hear you, bro, and I get it. It was a loaded question because I kind of want you to give us the solution, right? But
there honestly isn't one. I if you remove certain entities from the equation, how those titles, like there's nobody cares to be the undisputed fighter champion anymore. You have one too many titles, one too many promoters, one too many networks, and it's a shame because we're the ones that are missing out. Fighters are continuing to get rich. They're still getting boatloads of money. Us, the fight fans, are the ones that are missing what we would want to see, which is, Leonard taking on Hearns and Ali willing to fight anyone. And we're seeing a little bit of that in the heavyweight division, but it still needs to trickle down to the more attractive fight or divisions, I should say, the welterweights, the 135, the 130. True.
Because they had the bigger talent pool, right? There's so many fighters within those ranges of weight classes where it's like, man, you guys can make any type of super fight. And they should honestly take a page from Canelo, right? Canelo was a guy who says, you know what? I'll go up. I'll go down. I'll go fight a champion. I'll go fight the #1 contender. I'll fight a guy that I'm not supposed to fight. Just to stay active, to stay fighting, and to show everybody like, hey, I'm a fighter first. I'm a boxer first. And then I'm a businessman, promotional guy, whatever the case may be.
You hit a soft spot because you know my fandom for Canelo, how much I adore the man, how much I respect the man. You can criticize all you want, but Canelo's the only one that's willing to move up, move down, move up, move down, do what he needs to do, as the old fighters used to. We're no longer seeing that. Usyk is one who went from cruiserweight to heavyweight, so you respect him. But for years, Andre Ward wanted to fight with Triple G. From my understanding, Triple G never wanted to go above 160 to 168. Ward moves up to 175. There's a bunch of other guys. Lomachenko loves to parade and say he's pound for pound, but he doesn't really like fighting at the heavier weight classes. True. But Crawford goes from 140 to 147, hoping to land these big lucrative fights, and nobody wants to fight him at 147. Then Danny Garcia leaves from 147 to 154, and it's just guys aren't willing to do what Canelo has done, whether it's 150 to 160 to 168 to 175, go back down to 168, go back up to 175. We're not seeing that from guys. And to be honest with you, Canelo had no business going up to 175 for a second time. I just didn't like. He's lost more rounds at 175 than he's won, even though he has that knockout against Kovalev. I had him losing heading into that 11th round. It's just, we're not seeing things like that. Guys aren't daring to be great anymore. They're just looking to get a paycheck and protect that and Mayweather has some to blame for that because of how he handled it. But Mayweather's another one that I advocate for, because he faced on anybody and everyone. People like to say he ducked Margarito, he ducked certain fighters. I disagree. I think he faced everyone who was willing, who was a #1 ranked fighter and dared to be great. Who did he duck? Yeah. People will say Margarito, but hey, maybe he was a smart fighter ducking Margarito for a reason, because look how Margarito ended up.
Yeah, and Margarito was probably still cheating at that time, so probably a smart decision, right? Let's bring it back to Davis. You know what I mean?
And by the way, people in the comment section and viewers will say, "Oh, he ducked Pacquiao for years." Well, Pacquiao wasn't willing to take a drug test, as he did for Cotto, as he eventually did for Mayweather. So I don't think he ducked Pacquiao. And to be honest with you, I thought if he fought Pacquiao earlier in his career, it would have been a knockout. I think Pacquiao was just a straightforward fighter. He's a great counter puncher, and he knew what he was doing in there. But I thought Mayweather was just the more the smarter fighter, I should say. So I think it would have been more lopsided if they fought earlier in their career.
For sure. And you know what? Like at the end of the day, that's what becoming a Hall of Famer is about, right? You got to be able to take the risk in the boxing game, right? Put up your record, put up your belt, and say, I'm going for the glory. I'm going just to show I am strictly better than the guy who's in front of me. You know what I mean? And for Tank Davis, I feel like that's the guy that boxing should really get behind, right? Because you see in all his interviews how
it's hard.
But he's such a forward thinker. He's thinking about what's he gonna do after boxing, how he's grown as a man and get into promotions, how he deals with the off the boxing ring stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's so much maturity involved in that guy's like mindset right now that I feel like he should be the one that other boxers look at and be like, yeah, I got to do what Tank is doing because he's obviously heading up the right direction.
Other fighters should. Other fighters should pay attention to what Gervonta Davis is doing and take that blueprint and follow it because he's done well. Leonard Ellerbe has done a tremendous job, in my opinion, with Gervonta Davis's career. There was a time where Gervonta was fighting on pay-per-view, and I didn't think he was worthy of pay-per-view. But they know what they're doing. They cater to their audience. That's the Mayweather blueprint. That's Mayweather saying, I'm in Top Rank. I need you to cater me to the urban community and sell me to that fan base as opposed to what you're continuing to sell me to because I'm not putting butts in seats. Mayweather takes that blueprint, buys himself out of Top Rank, knows who to cater himself to, who to sell his fights to. They're doing the same thing with Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis is a money grab at the moment and can fill up any arena because they know the blueprint to how to get that career from the floor and up and running. Who knows where he ends up? He could be the most lucrative fighter. It's hard to compare to Mayweather because of what Mayweather did. But at the time, at the moment, he's right up there with Wilder, with Tyson Fury, that when he comes on, when a fight gets announced for Gervonta Davis, it's must watch. And not just must watch, it's must be in attendance. We saw Meek Mill being in attendance last night. We saw how
Steven Jackson,
basketball players. Yes, there's so many athletes that follow Gervonta Davis, which that bodes well for him. But I think the larger audience, the non-boxing fans, the non-entertainment, I think that's what he struggles with because of the out of the ring issues. He's still making some decisions that are poor. He's still surrounding himself with some people that don't have his best interests at heart, and you see that. But it's hard to. It's just like Delfimo Lopez when you tell him, "Hey, let go of your father. There's better trainers out there." It's how they were brought up, man. It's who they are, and it's hard to leave that stuff behind. So, unfortunately, it is what it is. But inside the ring, you cannot question Gervonta Davis, one of the best fighters out right now, if not the best.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know what? We got to give a little bit of credit to Hector. You know, he showed up. He did his thing. He put out his best foot forward and did the best that he could, right? Being the guy who's outmatched completely, you know what I mean? Outclassed, like you said. And for him to last 8 rounds, pretty impressive, you know? And that's part of the slow start that you said about Davis. But he survived.
You're born and raised in Miami, Florida. But where are your parents from?
They're Dominican. I got to give them some respect.
You're being far too kind, my man. You're being far too kind. You're being far too kind. That man did not belong in the ring. That man did not belong in the ring with Gervonta Davis.
He didn't. You could just tell.
Credit to Gervonta for the tune-up, for staying active, for, now takes a break, back at it in April. I love that. I like, as we mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, it's way better than what Ryan Garcia is doing. I think the best practice is to be in the ring in a competitive fight, not in a sparring session in training camp. So Gervonta Davis is doing the right things. And I think he'll be the better fighter come April 15th. But, Hector Garcia, nah, my man. Step up in weight class. And thank you for coming out and participating.
Thanks for showing up, right? Thank you for showing up.
That's not the weight class for you. And that was way ahead of you.
Yeah, way too much power for that guy. Way too much power for that guy. You know what? Got to give that guy his respect for showing up. And also got to give more respect to Gervonta Davis, right? For, like you said, staying active, taking on challengers and moving forward. Victor, man, thank you so much for joining us, brother. I love when we get to talk about boxing like this, man. I feel like you're one of the best when it comes to boxing, especially down here in South Florida, man. There's not a lot of people who are in that fight game like you are and such as knowledgeable as you are, man. So I appreciate you coming on here, brother.
Appreciate the time, man. Anytime. You know that.
Absolutely. Make sure to follow Vic on Instagram. Vic Bermudez does the Canes broadcast on 560 WQAM. Also one of the best sports producer for Telemundo. There's nothing else I can say about this guy, but go check him out, man. We really appreciate you guys tuning into Sports with Soso. Keep checking us out. More fight reruns coming to you guys this year. And until next time, peace.